Hi there guys, welcome to Thomas Drives, and today is a little bit rainy, but I'm going to continue the review because the show must go on. Today I'm going to review the Peugeot 5008. So what it's like to have this car, my impression is like this. The best way to describe this car is this food over here. So this is a kaya croissant. It's kind of weird because it's a croissant and then you got kaya inside there. So is it a kaya toast or is it a croissant? I'm not really sure. Well, this car has got a lot of mixed personalities. It sometimes feels like a hot hatch, sometimes it feels like an MPV. It kind of looks like an MPV, but it's the SUV, so I'm not really sure. But the question I shouldn't be asking is whether it's a kaya toast or not. The question is it delicious? Does it work? Let's find out more about in this review. I think it's important to talk a little bit about the history of Peugeot and where the grassroots are. Where does it come from? I like to appreciate the story because it teaches great life lessons and business lessons that is important as well. Did you know that Peugeot is one of the oldest car companies in the world? Now, they didn't start building cars, so they were in other industries. And if it's not for this very special product they were involved in, they would never got involved in the car. I think it's called a cranial or something like that. And because of those metal bars they were involved with, they created saw blades, bicycles. And because of that, Armand, one of the guys from the Peugeot family, he basically created a bicycle powered by steam engine. And I think it's pretty miraculous, isn't it? Imagine you're in the 1980s where the norm is when you have people being driven around with horses, right? You know, with chariots. And there's no chariot and the thing is moving. It's like black magic, isn't it? Thank God he wasn't burned alive as a witch or something like that, right? But that's how it got the whole car business in Peugeot got started. And Armand decided to broke off from the family and started Peugeot as an automotive brand. In fact, the earliest logo is a lion on top of an arrow to signify speed and strength. You know, so that's how we come to today, the more modern. Okay, you're not going to cut this off, right, Simon? So Peugeot has created some amazing cars. In fact, the 201 is a car that we really want to talk about. They were well-built car. It looked pretty at that time, and it could do 50 miles per hour. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? So needless to say, they sold a lot of those cars, and that's how they got really hooked onto the industry. In fact, they also have one of the oldest automotive plants in the world. All right. So Peugeot has a lot of firsts, right? And along the way, the war came and stuff like that. But the 1970s was an amazing time for Peugeot as well. But they started creating hatchbacks and started going through the rallies in Group B. In fact, they were dominating the Group Bs until they felt the Group B was too dangerous, so regulations came inside. You know, it's like taming a lion. The lion is too aggressive, but they say the lion shall not be tamed. So they started going to Dakar Rally and stuff. They won much more races as well on the Dakar Rally. So they have a lot of racing heritage. And Peugeot continued to build some really amazing cars, some memorable ones. Some of you may know the 404, right? It looks so damn gorgeous. So the question I got myself asking as I'm driving this car around, getting to know this car better, and knowing all this history from Peugeot, where is the heritage? It doesn't really come across in the design or come across in the driving experience itself. And I think it's important for us to, in my opinion, to keep that heritage, because in this day and age, technology is something that a lot of other competitors are coming up with. Look at Geely, look at all these other companies who never existed before. They start creating these amazing technologies, small engine, turbocharged, dual clutch, whatever. I feel the only way for a company to retain and to win the hearts of the customer is to bring some sort of character and some heritage into it. And it's such a sad thing because Peugeot has that history of one of the oldest car maker, but it doesn't come across in this car. Now, enough talk about the history of the car. Let's go and find out what it's like to actually drive this car. So what's the driving impression of this 5008? It's a bit schizophrenic. Let me explain to you why. Okay, first of all, the cockpit is really sporty, small steering wheel, you know, with these pedals jumping out and this instrument cluster on digital, and the way the cockpit aligns makes you feel like you're in this cocoon, and the hatch and this bucket seat, it makes you feel like you're in a hatchback. With the sport button, it makes you feel like you can drive this car pretty fast. And then and it goes. The engine pulls the car, it goes. But then when you reach the corners, right, and then you start going to the corner, you think you're in a hatchback, and then that's where the car betrays you. You see, the car will start wobbling around, you know, and then you're like, oh crap, I'm in an SUV MP. So let's talk about the engine. It's the 1.6 litre THP engine with the twin scroll. Now, what I really like about this engine is that because of the twin scroll technology, the torque kicks in as early as 1.4 thousand RPMs at 240 Newton torques. So what does it mean? There's a lot of go. It feels like it wants to go. You don't have to wrangle the engine to get the car going. So as a result, it feels like the car is easier to move even at such a size. And again, it adds on to that feeling of maybe I'm driving a hatchback, okay? Because I find myself oftentimes, you know, driving a little bit like a hatchback, okay, sorry. It's 167 horsepower, not really high, but good enough to be on the highway. And honestly, I found myself running 110, 120 on the highway without, you know, the engine doesn't feel like it's being stressed. You know? And I think that package comes really well. And all of this is also done in the name of fuel economy as well. The claim figures, it's at 7 litres per 100 km. And that's pretty impressive, again, for a car this size. Let's talk about the comfort of this car, right? It's actually the shocks and dampers, the whole car feels actually really quiet. It's not super quiet like a Maybach or like a S-Class, but again, for a car that's 160,000 ringgit this range, it's actually pretty quiet. You can take motorways, you can take highways and a 3, 4, 5 hour journey with not much of the issue, which is what I really like about this car. So while everything is tuned for comfort, I can say something about the suspension in the terms of handling though. You know, when you go in the corner, it feels somewhat confident. Again, you must take in mind, it is an MPV SUV, whichever you want to call it, right? I call it the MP SUV, right? But it doesn't feel, you know, it gives you that confidence to drive the car a little harder. And compared to the competitors, maybe like the X70 or the CRV, you know, the Japanese counterparts, this car actually feels pretty nice to drive, and even dare say drives better than the Tiguan. I feel more confident in this car than the Tiguan, right? The Tiguan Allspace or the Tiguan itself. So that's kind of like a plus side. You know, you want to take this car for a little bit spirited drive, okay? This is not a car you want to take up on a hard spirited drive, but it does give you confidence when you do it. There's something I don't like about this car. Well, they have actually the engine is pretty darn good for a 1.6 litre. What I don't quite like about it is the gearbox. It's a bit lazy. So yeah, you got this very sporty setup interior, you know, and again, you know, you want to go for this, you know, feel. But then when it comes to the gearbox, it's the downshift, the upshift, the pedal shifting, the response is so slow. It doesn't reward you from using the pedal shifters. So that's kind of like a small thing. Again, most people who buy this car probably wouldn't care, but it's something to consider if you like to have a little bit of fun when you're driving. So what I really like about this car is that it's something I like a lot actually about this car is the spot button over here, which I think they do it better than any other SUV MPV in this market. You can still see I'm kind of bitter about that, okay, but I think they do it well, because the spot button for this car actually somewhat make you feel sporty, especially for someone like me. I'm very auditory. So what happens when you press this button? The throttle response sharpen up, like most cars do. They hold the gear longer. But the one thing, okay, that makes this spot button awesome is the sound it makes. So listen to this. It's like an angry little hatchback, right? So pair up with this cockpit, again, it's deceptive. Now you feel like you're in a hatchback again. Let's talk about some really cute features about this car, which I find a bit annoying, you know, but also quite a quirk as well. This car has this lane keeping assistant. Actually, I think it's pretty smart. You know, you keep this feature on, right? When you're driving down the road, and let's say you accidentally steer off a little bit from your lane, what the car does, it will start pulling you back into your lane. So there's this like a nanny in the car, you know. It's like, oi, you know, pay attention to the road. In fact, it doesn't even tell you that it's interfering. It will just interfere and do it by itself. I think it's actually a good feature. I think maybe we need to make this a mandatory thing, because if you want to switch lanes, if you don't put your signal on, it will start to interfere with you, because assuming you're veering off the lane. So it's good for Malaysian drivers, isn't it? Because you have so many Malaysian drivers who will just change lane without putting a signal on, right? So it works. It works. I think everyone should have this, okay? So the interior cabin is a very nice place to be, especially from the driver's seat. You know, you can see right now, it kind of cocoons the driver into this whole feeling. And it makes you feel like you're in a hot hatch. But it's not. Okay, don't be deceived, guys. Now, let's talk a little bit about the design. This screen, you can adjust a lot of it. You can change the dials and so on and so forth. Personally, I kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool. The only thing is that the rev counter goes the other way around. Maybe this is one to be a little bit special, so it's on the opposite side, okay? Let's talk about the steering wheel. It's really light, it's really light, and it's really soft. And again, it gives you the impression you're driving a really small car. Now, let's come a little bit on the center console over here. I love this center console because it's high up. Unlike the Tiguan and some of the other cars, you're all on the bottom, so you have to look away when you're driving to select stuff. So this one keeps it up here, so you don't have to look so far away, and it's sort of a peripheral vision, and they're pretty big buttons, so you won't miss your buttons, okay? Now, the other thing that I only find annoying about this multimedia kit is that you have to press the buttons to get to where you want to go. So at first it may seem like, wow, it's such a minimalist way of doing things, it's so French and so artistic, you know, but it gets a little bit annoying because to get to the aircon, okay, you have to forgo your navigation to press the aircon, and oops, and then you adjust this, oops, I missed my corner, then all the swear words come out, right? So that's the difficult part about this. You have to click, and it gives you an extra step to get to your aircon, versus a traditional way, your hands go there, you turn the knob, you adjust the aircon. So that's kind of downside. The cabin, it looks nice, and I really like the cloth feel about this. And everyone is trying to do, you know, leather, soft touch and stuff. They decided to go with cloth. I think it's really smart. Does it work? I like it. I think it's really nice. But the other stuff feels really cheap. I think the interior build quality of the Tiguan is way better compared to this car. And all these little plastics just makes you feel like you're, you know, not buying a quality item. Even the click sounds like not very nice. Gearbox looks pretty done, you know, futuristic. You know, it looks like wow, and all of that. Right, interior space quality, very nice. A lot of space for your phones. You know, the cup holders are fantastic, but I wish the cup holders were a little bit forward, because when you put something tall, like I can demonstrate with my colleague's flask, you know, driving, you go, and my colleague has damaged her elbows a couple of times because of things like this. Okay, so that's the only one little small complaint, if not, but in the name of artistic aesthetic, this is the French way of doing things, oui oui. So let's talk a little bit about the back of the seat, yeah? Okay. So at the rear, there's something really cool about this car. Let me show you what it is. There is a secret location to put all your valuable things. So I'm a bit contradicted to actually show this to all of you, because, you know, it's supposed to be secret, right? But now everyone knows where it is. So, pro-apology, advance apology if, you know, someone jacked your car. Choi, touch wood, no wood. Okay, let's talk about the interior of the car, because most people who buy this car, they use it for their families. How's the space in this car? It's huge. It's huge. And, you know, look at this. I'm 173 cm, and that's my driving position. And look, I still got so much leg room. You know, I can probably even, yeah, I probably can't sit in there, but you get the size, right? And no, the seats, you get to do forward and backwards. Let me show you. Okay, and you get to recline your seats as well. So on a long journey, and with your hand rest, you can go for a long journey, no problem, right? Now, the other thing, not just about the space, something they do really smart about this car, and this is where it feels MPV-ish, right? Is how the cabin feels from the rear seat. These huge windows makes you feel like you're in an MPV. See, it's not an SUV, it's an MPV, right? Huge windows, and with the panoramic roof, it makes you feel like you're in a big car, right? So that illusion is great, and it makes and feel a long journey feel okay. The rear seats got some other creature comforts as well that will keep your rear passengers happy, like the USB plug that they can charge their phone, and they get to adjust their air cons and stuff like that. So it's pretty darn cool. What do I think about the interior? Double thumbs up. I sat in this car in the highway, smooth, it doesn't feel waffy, it felt solid even at high speeds. So, you know, this car is fantastic in the rear seat itself. Now, we're done with the rear seats. Let me show you something I don't quite like about this car over here. Because it's supposed to be an SUV, but this is where it looks a little bit like an MPV. This thing over here. Now it's plastic rubberish, but it's sharp. So, first thing, if your kids aren't really aware, you open your door, on a high curb you can hit something. That's pretty annoying. And the other thing that happened to me a couple of times is that when you close your door and you're not careful, So let me talk about one feature that really alleviates the stress of being a parent. Now, I'm not a parent, I don't know, but I can only imagine this scene. But let's say you're bringing a lot of stuff for your groceries, your hands are full, and your kids are running around like mad, okay? So you can't grab them, you can't stop them running around, all you can do is shout. Now, if you're one of those kids like me when I was younger, who is rebellious, okay, and mischievous, then this is good for you. So I'm shouting for my kids, they're running around everywhere, okay? So I have to grab them back, but my hands are full, I can't put it on the floor. What can I do? I can use my legs to open the boot. There you go. You can put your things in, right? And then you can close this. You can go catch your kids and strangle them. I'm kidding. Don't strangle your kids. It's illegal. Okay? But it's actually really, really practical to have this. So the rear seats is pretty easy to operate actually. On this side, on the right side, driver's side of the seat, you can use this button, you can pull this up, and it makes a nice angle for you to come in. And put it back down, don't need to use this, you just go easy, right? Now, this is where, if your kids are a bit bigger size, okay, I'm not saying anything else but bigger size. This one doesn't have that function. You can do this, which makes it so easy for you to climb on board. And you can go on the back, like so. Now, the question is the rear seat comfortable? Actually, I think it's pretty okay. I could sit here for a couple of hours, maybe not a 5-hour trip, but for a guy who's 173, it's pretty good. But there'll be no space for the bags. Now the mechanism of the rear boot is pretty interesting. And you have this like nice cover in the end when you get it down. So let me show you how easy it is. You open this thing, and there's a string over here, and all you gotta do is, yeah, come here, you see? You just pull. That's it. It's done, and then you just flip it over. Voila! Flat seats. So what do I think about the Peugeot 5008? I think it's a fantastic family car. In fact, if this is the only car you have at home for a family, I think you'll be really pleased by it. Not only because of the size and the seating capacity of the car, but it's the package that's built. It's light and easy to drive, so the city maneuvering is so easy, and with the THP engine, a lot of torque, low end, it feels so seamless to drive the car. And if you're taking this car across road trips and stuff, it's easy to drive on the highway, it's fast enough, it's firm enough and confident on high speeds as well. So I think you'll be really pleased by that. But not only just the overall driving experience, this car has a feature which I think is really good if you have older people in your family as well. Now, if you have older people in the family, this car is not too high, which means it's easy to jump in and sit on that. That's a pretty cool feature if you're considering a car within this range as well. So, for the price of 160,000, it's actually pretty attractive, but you're always going to have a comparison with a certain brand. See, we have to do this comparison just like how we started the whole video, with food. See, on this hand over here, we have the croissant, which is nice, creamy and buttery like a beautiful French food. But Pardon my French. We have over here a kaya toast. So this car will inevitably be compared with something that's made locally. Croissant is the Peugeot 508, and the kaya toast, and yes, you guessed it, is the Proton X70 with 40,000 ringgit, much less for the top range. It's slightly smaller, but it's a great package to have for its price. So the question you got to ask yourself is not whether which is more, better price, etc. You got to ask yourself, which one do you prefer? Prefer a kaya toast? Prefer a croissant, which is maybe slightly more expensive, something that is more pedestrian, simple, but does the job. Everyone loves it, it fills your tummy, and it tastes delicious as well. For me, I'm gonna say, I'll go for the croissant kaya toast. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Peugeot 5008. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up so it helps us produce more content like this for you. And of course, please let us know on the comments below what you think about the Peugeot 5008. And of course, find out more about this car, other reviews, please check out my colleague's video on Horizon and Evo Malaysia on the links up here or in the descriptions below there. Alright, with that, I'll see you on another review video on Thomas Drives.